Hello creatives, welcome back. Are you super excited to see what we're going to be making today? While staying with our seasonal theme as we're closing out 2023, we're going to work on a fall rustic wreath. So like a welcome wreath. So I can't wait to show you all the details. Kind of out of breath. I had to go feed the deer real quick. And so I ran back. I was like, oh no, I'm like slightly a little bit late. So if this is your first time joining, welcome. I'd love to know where you're from. So if you wouldn't mind, could you put down in the comments below where you're joining me from, and welcome. Also, if you like this design, which I'm sure you will, and want to replicate it, the easiest way to store these tutorials is to click the share button below. That'll share it to your page, and then that way, when you have everything ready to start putting it together, you can, it'll be available on your Facebook page. So that's like what I did when I was first learning. If there was designs that I wanted to work on or different types of color palettes that I was interested in using, I would just go ahead and save those. So much easier to find. Also, YouTubers. So if you didn't know, I have a YouTube page. It's under Kat's Creations Wreaths, where you'll find all of my watch. I'd be happy to have you. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel over there. If you want to be notified, however, when we drop a new video in YouTube, go ahead and click the subscribe button, or you can hit the little bell in the upper right hand corner. Let me go ahead and pull up your comments so that I can read them, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So, okay, any day. Hi, Teresa from Kentucky. Welcome. Let me go ahead and type in my information. I wish that we could automatically default this so that we didn't have to do it every single time, but you do. And let me go ahead and pin that so it will always be there for you guys to utilize it. So, private group is still open. So if you guys would love to join, I would love to have you. I have two different groups. I have a private group and a Wreath of the Month group. Private group is for people who really want the whole design thing, maybe throw in some business classes as well. And the Wreath of the Month group, we just focus on one wreath the entire month, and it's usually seasonal. Coming up this month, we're working on Christmas, and we're going to have two totally different designs. So that's what we're working on for September. So I'm going to go ahead and flip you down so we can go ahead and get started. So I always like to make sure that you can see all the measurements, because I know that that is mission critical for some of you. So we are going to finish wiring up our Dollar Tree 14-inch wreath frame. So I've already done the other 5 sections. There are a grand total of 6. Hi, Cheryl. And we're going to take our pipe cleaner. We're going to do this last section together. So we're just going to go in between the welds on the first 2 rings, starting from the inside out. We're going to go right in the center, and we're going to give it a nice firm twist. And the reason why I like to wire together the 2 is greater stability for your pipe cleaner. It generally doesn't like to move around after that. And then we're going to go ahead and wire together the outside 2. We're going to put 2 in this section. 1 kind of in between our weld and the center, just like this. And we're going to go ahead and do this on the opposite side. That'll give us 6 on the inside 2 and 12 on the outside 2 for a grand total of 18. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started on this. We are going to be keeping it rustic. So with that, we're going to use this jute. It is a white and cream mesh. This you cannot cut with a wood burning tool. Let me grab something here to weigh it down. And we're going to ruffle this because I want a nice flat base so we can add a lot of embellishments. We can put in a really nice ribbon. So we're just going to imagine that there is a line down the center, and you're going to pull that ruffle towards you. We're going to put the finished edge towards the inside, right between the pipe cleaner. And we're going to do the 6 inside first. Okay, just one complete twist. Now that I think about it, I'm going to go ahead and remove these. I always tell you, if you're just starting out and you're not really sure what your end design's going to be, you know, you're kind of building it as you go, leave all your pipe cleaners intact so that way they're there if you decide, oh, maybe you want to put some ribbons around the inside, you want to add some embellishments, and maybe you want to tie those in instead of glue them. So remember, we're just doing the inside 6 first. Okay, and I usually just give it a couple extra twists just to make sure there's no way that's going to come undone. We're going to take that little leftover piece and tuck it down into the center, and then you're just going to open those up. These pieces are all cut to 20-inch pieces. So if you have one roll of Deco mesh, you can get 18 20-inch pieces and only use one full roll, and you'll have nothing left by the time you are finished. Okay, a couple good twists. Again, I'm opening this, and if you have any frays, which is generally going to happen because you have to use a rotary cutter on this mesh, because it has not only jute fibers, but it also has cotton fibers in there. And I try to use the most curly parts of my mesh for the inside. So generally the ones that are closest to the inside end of the roll, just like this. And again, just gradually pull that mesh towards you, keeping your focus right in that imaginary center piece. These are like little bow ties. People call them scrunches. The method is all the same. And this is a really great method to do if you're a first-time wreath maker, because it's super easy. You get a really amazing look. And again, fan these out. So we're just focusing on the inside 6. And I know for a lot of you, you're like, wow, this looks like the pancake method. Yes, it is very similar, except we are going to double a total of 18 instead of just 12. Because I like my wreaths to have a little bit more fullness to them. Okay, tuck that back in. Do the last one. And this is how I always started making my wreaths, is I would do the inside 6, and then I would do the outside 12. And then somewhere along the line, I changed it, and I started to just, wherever I put my first piece of Deco mesh, I would just take the very next pipe cleaner I came to, and I'd put a piece of Deco mesh or jute mesh in, and just keep going, just alternating those inside or outside pieces. Okay, so now we have those all finished. And here's a great tip for those of you guys that are struggling with, like, well, how do I know how full I can go with my Deco mesh? I'm not sure if I use a 10-inch mesh or a 10-inch ring, a 12-inch ring, a 14-inch wreath frame, a 15, an 18. What will be the end result? Super simple. If you use 10-inch mesh, you're just going to add 10 to that wreath diameter. So if you have a 10-inch frame, you're going to add 10. Your finished result should yield a 20-inch wide or in diameter wreath. If you're doing an 18-inch wreath with 10-inch mesh, you're going to get a 28-inch finished product. And like this one with a 24-inch, depending upon placement, we're going to get 24 to 25 inches out of this. So that's just a little word of helping you guys figure it out. And I always say, if you can keep them under 26 inches, you will not have to pay the elevated shipping rate, which you will end up having to pay if you go greater than 24 inches. Because anything greater than that, you go from, trying to think of what the standard rate is. Depends on where it ships, but somewhere between $25 to $40 is what a wreath maker who's shipping on average up to a 24-inch wreath is paying, depending on distance from them to the client. So where was I going with that? Oh, and if you go above that to a 26, 28-inch wreath box, you're looking at about 3 times the cost. So it generally isn't worth it to go bigger, because you're going to have clients that may want bigger, but they're not going to want to pay that rate to ship that product directly to them. Okay, so now what purpose our middle Deco mesh serves is to add a filler to those 2 outside pieces. So as you can see right here in the center, I've taken my Deco mesh. I've made sure that the outside pieces are now overlapping that center piece. You can see with the open pipe cleaners now. And then I'm going to pull this one to the side. I'm going to do the same right here. Going to kind of push that one to the side so you can see. Now we're going to work on the next 2. Hi, Cheryl from Canada. I have a Cheryl from Texas and a Cheryl from Canada. So I definitely wanted to do something a little rustic, little country-esque for fall. Sometimes we leave that out trying to do all the pretties, right? We forget that there's a lot of people who like a more country look to their seasonal designs. So this one we're gearing for those folks. And I love a more rustic look to all of my seasonal, because I just feel like, you know, people are walking around and just grabbing what would have been something that they happen to have around. Granted, they're not going to have burlap Deco mesh, but they would have, you know, maybe pieces of burlap or potato sacks where they could have made something really pretty for their home and decor. Okay, and I always like to take the ends of my mesh where those are cut and kind of fold those under so that we can kind of reduce the amount of fraying that we will see. And again, I'm just parting the ways for the next 2 pieces. And this will create a very full, balanced look. Hi, Maddie, welcome. And then I'll show you the sign. And then you can kind of see where I was going with this color palette that we're going to do. This is more traditional fall. Hi, Sandra from Ohio. Welcome. So are you guys starting to see signs of fall where you're at? Anyone? I know here our maple trees, the very tips are just now starting to turn, which is right in lines where the Farmer's Almanac says that here in Western Washington, we should start to see those leaves beginning to change, and I love it. Okay, again, folding the ends. So we're going to reduce the frays, but still open that up. And I'm going to prepare the next one. just right here. And then this one right here. And I'm going to kind of set the other one aside so you can kind of see what we're doing. Cheryl says it's still over 100 there. Maddie says it's 98 in Jersey. Sandra says she's starting to see the looks of fall. Trees are starting to change. Ooh, I know there's one right here first. That was my main reason why I stopped going from just doing the center to doing what I call the next one. Is sometimes I would forget, like I would miss one, and then I'd have to go back and find it. Okay, go ahead and add one in here. Two nice twists. Open this up. Fold the ends down as you open the rest. Okay, and now we have this side. We're almost finished with laying our mesh in. And don't worry if while you're trying to scrunch your mesh, it kind of wobbles to the left and then the right and then the left, like it won't lay perfectly flat. It's okay. Cheryl says we're very hot here, but it's supposed to cool down tomorrow and next week. Oh, I am loving this weather. And it's so funny because now should be the time when we're aggressively working on getting some of the farm work done, trimming trees, prepping for the, the fall weather, but no, we're not. Okay, we've got this one right here. No, we'd rather slave in the hot, humid weather to try to work on getting things done, like putting in a garden. And I can't really start winter prep on our garden just yet because I need leaves and mulch to make that work. But I've learned an awful lot of stuff this year with the garden that I didn't know. So managing your garden bugs organically and naturally. Those are some things that have posed to be a challenge as first-time gardeners. Like, we just literally moved from the desert to a small farm in Western Washington with established fruit trees, and we put in a garden. And yesterday, I discovered earwigs in my corn, which I hate earwigs. They creep me out. It's just the crawly thing. So, tip for next year, we're going to lay in diatomaceous earth in our garden soil as we're beginning our plantings, because we want everything organic, pesticide free. So that has posed a challenge. Otherwise, we just go out to our home improvement store and go ahead and get bug killer and spray it all over. But I definitely don't want to be eating that in my food. Okay, so this is our base. If I look at this going from Deco Mesh edge to Deco Mesh edge, we're right around 24.5. Again, it's going to depend on how you lay that Deco Mesh in. You might put not as much, like maybe a third to the middle, and you want 2/3 to the outside to go a little bit fuller. That is definitely something that you can do. The sign that we're using is a 10-inch sign from Personalize It by Pam. We're going to go ahead and do this gorgeous welcome friends because welcome wreaths have a tendency of selling out quicker than anything else. So that's what we're going to do here. I already have the ribbons cut. So we're going to do 2 different palettes, right, Maddie? I fell in love with that sign and I ordered 2 because I'm going to do 1 light and 1 dark. So this one's going to be the light version. So we have 1.5 inch, what I call fall plaid ribbon. It has your creams, your orange, and your sagey greens, which lend to a more rustic or country color palette. Instead of the bright greens, you have kind of like an olive or avocado green. And this is cut to 19-inch pieces. It's going to be paired with this gold foil leaf pattern on that sage. So these 2 are going together. And then we're taking the 1.5 inch. This is a burnt orange or pumpkin colored with raised white stitching. 19 inches paired with this pumpkin print in both the sage, the creams, and oranges. So the 2.5 inch pieces are cut to 14 inches. The 1.5 inch pieces are cut to 19 inches. So we're going to alternate. We're going to fold them in half first. And then we're going to, once we've determined what is true like center, we're going to scrunch up. We're going to open our pipe cleaner. We're going to place this one inside, just 1 twist, fan that to the outside. You're going to take your 1.5 inch, you're going to match your dovetailed edges together and go up about 2 inches, pinch in. You're going to lay that right inside this, and you're going to twist a couple times. And we're going to go ahead and right side 1 part of our tail so that we've got both right sides facing out. And I like to pair those together like that so we can see both versions of the ribbon. Right, Cheryl, she says, I love the foil leaves. I almost ordered it in all the colors. I think I did. I have it in the brick red. I have it in the burnt orange, the sage green, and the dark brown. And I think there's a blue. So we're going to go through and just keep alternating the patterns until we get all the way around. And I'm going to keep my pipe cleaners on here because I haven't decided which ones I'm going to keep and which ones are going to come off. So always open your loops, right side 1 of your tails. We're going to bring those out. It's going to lay funny initially because the pipe cleaners are still in there. But if you wanted to add some embellishments that you need to wire in, you might want to leave those till the end. That was my biggest learning tip as a wreath maker, is when in doubt, leave everything there until you get to the end. And then whatever you didn't use, go ahead and remove those. And I think I'm going to use the green part, but I'm not sure yet. Which means that the rust colored ones might end up going, just being by themselves. Because I don't like to embellish every single tie to the outside, just a little bit. Just to enhance the look, not to take it away. And sometimes as a wreath maker, that can be a little challenging. Where do you reel it back in? How do you not go over the top and just add everything? The easiest way is decide firsthand what is your focal point. When someone's looking at your wreath, where is the very first place you want to draw their eyes? Do you want it to be a bow? Do you want it to be an embellishment? Do you want it to be like a plush character that you've added, like a wreath attachment? Do you want it to be the sign? Sometimes as wreath makers, we will be like, oh, I want to have a really pretty bow, and I want to have a really nice embellishment, and a really nice sign, and all the things. And then when someone looks at your wreath, their eye is all over the place. So you kind of want to tone that down so that they discover things as they continue to look, not kind of having it all in their face right at the very beginning. You know, you want it to be a slow discovery where they're like, oh, check this out. I didn't even see that was in this wreath. That is so cool. So that's where understanding color theory comes into play. So you don't use way too many colors. Understanding the colors change for the fall. You know, what colors are more predominant for fall? How do you decide between rustic, country, farmhouse, and maybe more traditional? How do you incorporate trendy with a fall design? Like right now, a lot of the mauves and blues are really popular for fall. And then here's a tip I gave our private group members is don't forget things that we often leave on the table. For clients who have a select home decor, meaning that if you have a client who has a beach house, they want a beachy fall wreath. They also probably want a beachy Christmas wreath. So what I'm saying is, are you leaving items on the table without realizing it? You know, like if you're in a mountain community, you want to generate a lot of interest maybe in mountain decor, things people could use in their mountain homes or their cabins. If you live on the coast or on a bay, you want things that are geared to your clients there. So that could be things you're leaving on the table. Hi, Carrie. Cheryl says, do you know if Pam delivers her signs to Canada or do they have an outlet in Canada? I don't know, but I do know that Pam is very responsive to her messages. So if you reach out to her, go to her Etsy shop, which is Personalize It by Pam, and click Contact Shop Owner and just ask Pam the question. Sometimes she can, I know, I'm not going to say sometimes, she will respond to you and let you know if she does or not. Hi, Lisa. Good afternoon. She's a new follower. How many wreaths a day do you make? Well, that depends. If I have custom orders, if I have all the materials, I start on those and I get those out to the client as quickly as I possibly can. Because I understand, hey, when you're buying something, you kind of want that. I think we are evolved into a want it now mentality. Since we can order online, we want it as quick as possible. But to answer the question in an average base, I probably make 4 wreaths every week. So I have 3 groups that I teach in. So there's 3, and then I generally will make 1, depending upon what needs to be added to my shop. Bobby, great question. How long did you cut your ribbon tails again? So the 2.5-inch ribbon are cut to 14-inch tails, and the 1.5-inch ribbon pieces are cut to 19 inches. And the reason why I go with a little bit longer is because when I'm fanning my tails out, I want my tails to end where my mesh ends. And then when I'm adding my half bows, this is what these are called because they only have one loop but two tails. 19 inches allows me to have that loop. And then when I go to spread out my tails, they also end where my 2.5 inch ribbon ends. So it's an even match. I just like them a little longer. Let's see. You're welcome, Cheryl. Janet says, how do you get ahead of the trend to know what is trending or going to be trending? Well, here's the great thing. There's a lot of wreath makers out there. And so a lot of them order directly from Craig Bachman, who everybody buys their supplies from. So they generally go 6 months to a year in advance, and they're ordering stuff. Like right now in, what is it? Today is September. So they're ordering stuff for spring, Easter, stuff like that. So they see a trend. You could go to Pinterest and look at what's trending. All your social media feeds will generally show. You know, pink is a big color for this year. I'm not a favorite of it, but I did have a client yesterday who asked for a pink, black, white, and gray Halloween wreath. So I was able to get that done for her. So we always have to understand that just because we don't like something doesn't mean a client won't. And I love taking that kind of challenge where a client sees a vision in their head and then we work together to try to make that a reality for them. Oh, you're welcome, Lisa. She said, thank you. I did crafts when I was younger. Then I started doing wedding planning and flowers for 20 plus years. Now I'm just doing wreaths and centerpieces and was wondering if I needed to up my game. I'm only doing 1 or 2 a day or a week. It depends. Thanks for answering. I would say start like right now. I'm almost done. I think I'm done with Halloween. I don't think I have any more Halloween slated for my calendar because it's September. Even though October 31st, people right now are going to be buying their fall. If they don't do Halloween, they're just going to go fall and then they'll do Christmas. So I say follow the retail store. So look at what retail stores are carrying. At the beginning of every year, there's always somebody who says, hey, here's what the fall trendy color is for this year. And then a lot of people kind of lean into that as they're making their designs. So there we are finished with all of our half bows and our ribbon tails. And so now when we come in and we add this sign, I'm going to try to take that glare away. This is picking up everything from my lights. Let me turn this one up. Okay, there we go. So you can kind of see where it's trending. It's got that dark base. So we're going to come in and we're going to add, I'm trying to think, might want to add 2 bows. I will see if I have enough of all of the ribbon colors. I might want to do one here and one here. The nice thing about the way that the sign is designed is we have this font and all the lettering in the center. We don't want to impact, you know, we don't want to cover what's in the sign because that's kind of where I based all my color palettes from. We've got the rust and we've got the sagey greens on top of a really neutral. So I think we're going to do 2. I think I'm going to put one here and one here. And then we'll look and see what else we can add to that. So let's go ahead and start the bow making. So we are going to make sure all the frays are off the table. So we have, and I'll tell you where they all came from. And believe it or not, almost every single ribbon roll came from somewhere else. But again, like I said, all these RJ ribbons or RG ribbons are all done through Craig Bachman. So generally you can find them at virtually anyone who sells ribbon, but specifically this foil on the sagey green came from Personally Yours, which is PLY She's somebody who coordinates her signs with her, and she sells ribbons and materials as well. The 2.5 inch with the pumpkins, or different color pumpkins and fall leaves and berries on that natural. This is from Pinky Jub. She is on Etsy. The rust colored with the white edge and that fall plaid. I buy this fall plaid in 50 to 100 yard spools. Why? Because it goes with just about every color that we have for fall. And these two are from Kringle Designs. And then we're introducing this burnt orange and white ticking because we're keeping it a little country. This is from Craft Outlet. And then the 1.5 inch, because I want this as my star on top of my bow. It is the exact same as this one, but 1.5 inch. And this is from White Bayou Wreaths and Supplies. So like I said, a little bit of everything. So we're going to go ahead and put that together in a bow. Hi, Linda. And I think we're going to go with our foil first. So we want to dovetail the edge. So that just means take your, all my ribbon is wired, by the way. So we're going to take our wired edges. We're going to put those together. And you're always going to cut on the folded side, not on the wired side. So you're going to start, and it depends on how deep you want your V. Some people have very shallow V's or dovetails in their ribbon. I like mine a little bit deeper, which just means that, you know, it's got a deeper V. And so how high up on your fold you are determines how deep your V will be. So we're going to do this at 10 inches. So we're just going to gather at the 10 and we're going to twist. We're going to place that inside my Bodabra. My Bodabra is where I first learned how to make bows, and I have tried all the other ones. This is my favorite. So that's why I use it. And that, yes, I have all the other ones still. And we're going to do a 5.5 inch loop, which means that when I stretch this out, I need this to end at 5.5 inches, which means I need to move my Bodabra, this crease, right here on the 10, so that when I stretch this out, I'm like at 5 3/4. Right there is 5.5. And yes, I am that particular on my bows. It's kind of like making a recipe. If you want it to yield what you want, then you need to make sure that your measurements are pretty precise, which means I hate it when I started making bows and I always had one loop that was a little longer than the other, and it's because I wasn't really meticulous on my measuring. So, and you're going to see when it comes time to whip out the other bow, I'm going to go really fast. So I'm doing this one slow so you see what we're doing. So we have 10 inch tails, 5.5 inch loops. This one we're going to do a 9.5 inch tail. Okay. And we're going to do 5 inch loops. So you lay this out, gather at 9.5 inches, twist, place that back inside your Bodabra, and now we're going to measure out 5 inches. Okay, so we want to make sure this lines up right at the 5. Do the same to the other side. And we're going to go in here, stretch it out to the 5, and bring this out and cut this at 9.5 inches. Dovetail the end. My process is always the same. How I put, like, you know, measure, cut, you know, do the dovetail. It's always consistent so that I don't forget a step. Like, I don't forget to dovetail one of my ends. So I think what we're going to do, because I'm trying to break these up and looking, like, I'm always, you know, looking at what ribbon do I want where. I think I want the white to break up the plaid, and then I think I like that look. So we'll go ahead and use this one. And this one's going to be a 9-inch tail with a 4.5-inch loop. And if you want the recipe, if you go to the website that's pinned to the bottom, you can download, or you can sign up to get the bow recipe emailed directly to you. And it's free. So this is the exact same bow that the recipe calls for. So this one now, we want it to come back to 4.5 inches. Same thing, up and over. Four and a half inches. And then back out, trim this to 9. Dovetail the end. And I'm just keeping these here because when we go to whip out the other one, it's just easier if I don't have to put the pins back in them. I love this ticking because it feels very farmhouse. And it's a really super soft cotton canvas. So normally you get them and they're really stiff. This one's going to be 8.5 inches for our tail length. And we're also doing 4.5 inches for this one. So we're just going to kind of cheat. You're going to put your fingers in both and then just pull till you have an accurate measure on both. But we'll have to still double check our tail length and make sure that's the same. And if you think about it, bows for the most part are all the same. It's just how long somebody will cut their tails, how many loops they'll put in the bow. But if you go to like YouTube and Google bow making, there's like 3 or 4 and then that's it. Everything else is a variation of those 3 or 4 types. Okay, I'm going to go in here. This one, we are doing 8-inch tail, and this one's going to be 4-inch loop. Love this ribbon. If you find a ribbon that you totally love, see if they have it in 50-yard spools, because then you'll have that to get you through a couple seasons. This one's just going to be a 4-inch loop. So we're dialing it down a little. And the reason why I keep doing this bow is because I already know how big this bow is going to be. I already know how it's going to lay. I can do 2 variations of this bow with the way that everything is laid out, which you're going to see here. We're going to do both of them because we have one that is a bow for the top and one that is a bow for the bottom. So they're, how you fluff them varies a bit. Okay, this last one's going to be 7.5 inches with a 3.5-inch loop. This one's going to be tough because we've got that painted on design with the pumpkins. And I'm having to fold it right on that pumpkin print. And then back out 7.5. We will get that one done. Okay, we are going to use a mossy green pipe cleaner. And we're just putting it in the U shape. We're going to pick up all of this ribbon. We're compressing it as we remove it. So we have our, I always call this a club sandwich. So if you've ever eaten a club sandwich, you know how you have to really compress it down to get that to fit, especially if they use 3 slices of bread. So I hold the pipe cleaner at the bottom and I'm turning the ribbon stack to twist that. Okay. So this one I'm going to set aside till we make the other. So I'm going to do this one fairly quick. And sometimes the nice part, let's do it this way. Let's vary the order of the ribbon that we're putting in, just for a totally different look. So they're going to be the same ribbon, but I'm going to change the order. So we're still doing 10-inch tails, but I'm going to go with the pumpkin here, 5-inch loop or 5.5-inch loop, a little bit more. There we go. Up and over. And we're a little too long. No, I was right. I went way too short on that one. 5.5, cat, not 4.5. Okay. Okay, dovetailing the end. And if you like the red-handled scissors, which are my all-time favorite, and I've had them for a while now, but they are still super sharp. Actually sliced my finger a couple days ago trying to rough up the edges of a foam dragon mask. And I was using those to score the ends. Using tools for which they're not designed. So this is going to be 9.5. And we're going to go 5 inches in. Right there. Another 5. Right out. 9.5. I love this foiled ribbon. I knew it would be big. I bought this last year and didn't use it last year because it became available after the season had ended. So I was like, oh, this will be cool for next year. Okay. Now we're going to go this color in. So this one's going to be 9 inches. 4.5 inches is our loop length. Now remember, I'm varying the colors on this one. They're the same colors, but it creates a very unique look in that they're similar, but then they're not. Okay, let's do the dovetail on that end. And now I'm going to do the fall plaid color. And this will be 8.5 inches. Again, we still have the same 4.5 inches for this one. put your fingers in both and pull. It's just on the spool, and it doesn't want to unwind off of the spool. In 8.5. There we go. But I don't think I said, you can get the red handled scissors at kringledesigns.us. And they will probably be your best scissors in the world because they are so super sharp. They make cutting your ribbon a breeze. We're going to go with our burnt orange. And this one is 8 inches. 4-inch loop. Okay, 4 inches. So I'm always guesstimating until I bring it back and measure, and then pull it back anywhere I need to. And then our last one is our 7.5 inches with a 3.5-inch loop. So I'm always like taking the time to unfold my ribbon so it lays really smooth in the bow maker. So last one, and then we'll fluff both. 7.5 inches, 3-inch. Okay, up and over. There's a pin. And then back out to 7.5. Okay. There we go. Those are done. We have all the ribbon all in place. Okay. We'll go ahead and do the same thing here. Grab another sage green. And squish. And yes, if you have always wanted to know, have you ever dropped that stack when you picked it up? Yes, I have. You just put it back in the bow dabber and just restack. Okay, so we've got 2. Those are all done. I've gotten a lot of questions on my board that I use for fluffing. Honestly, it's just, that's what Kat's going to do this weekend. I'm going to stain this board. It's a 24-inch by 24-inch by 1-inch thick piece of pre-cut lumber at your local home improvement stores. I added 1.5 inches to a 2-inch C-hook or a cup hook, and you just screw that right to the center. And so I just take that C-hook and we go ahead and loop that so that it's under our pipe cleaner, so it just keeps the bow from sliding off. Cheryl says, did you fix the bow board your friend made? Steve's been working on it little by little. So it was funny. I was going to grab it and bring it, but I think he's still working on trying to fix it. So we're going to separate these tails and loop. Okay, this is our top stack. This is our bottom. So what we do on the top, we do the opposite on the bottom. So if we pulled our tail out to the left, we're going to pull that same tail out to the right. And then our loops now are directly across from each other and the tails are directly across. And now we're just going to go opposite here. So we pulled our tail to the left. We're going to go to the right. We're going to pull our loop. And here's our tail. So what's happening is we are alternating our loops, alternating the ribbons or the tails as we bring each piece down. So we're going here. I'm just going back to the green. because I don't want green stacking on top of green. Just remember, whatever you do on the top, you do the opposite to the bottom. So now we're going to take the this color here. I got to go find it here. This goes opposite. And then now we're going to take it back this way. And over here. See, so we've got all the tails. They're all starting to kind of combine. This goes here. This goes here. Everything is flat. Now this is a fluff method, and the way I've separated it for a ribbon that's going to go in the upper corners. So we're just going to fluff the top, pulling up the top two, leave the tails to the last. So we're going to do these two, so they're opposites. And then on the next one, like, decide what you want in between. I like the plaid in between these two, so this is just going to go to the outside. We're going to go to the next two, open those up and fluff. I'm going to do the same here. Just going to move my tail around. There we go. And then we're going to grab the ones on the bottom. Those ones I generally put all of my fingers in so I can get a really nice good fluff on those. So just here and here. Just move those around to where they fall where you desire them to be. Like I like this between these two and this between those. And then now you can take your tails and you just, remember curling ribbon back in the days? Well, your fingers are going to be the fake scissors. So you're just going to put those on either side, the top and the bottom, and just bring those through. Same thing on the bottom. It's a little hard to notice it though, but just kind of play with the order of what you like, where. So that is this bow. So this is going to be our upper corner. So it just goes off the same way we put it on. And now we're going to fluff a bow for the bottom. So we're going to put this one on. This one's super simple. Since we're fluffing to the bottom, all of the tails go to the bottom. And it doesn't matter what order you pull them in. You just want to make sure you've got all the tails going to the bottom, because this is a bottom bow. You wouldn't want the tails to hang up on your sign. And we're doing the same thing, except I'm going from the bottom. I'm going to pull out the bottom two, and I'm going opposites, just like that. Same thing here with the next two. Oops. There we go. And then up here. Come on. And then here. Same thing. Fluff everything out to your desired look. Make sure they're all really fluffy. And then the same thing for the bottom. We're just going to pull all those ribbons. This way they'll kind of cascade up and around and down the bottom of our bow. Okay, so that when I turn it this way, you have a bottom bow. Okay, just like that. However you want those to fall, it's up to you. So those are same bow fluffed two different ways. Okay, now we're going to put it all together. So the first thing I want to do is I want to prep my sign for my business card. I put these on the back so that if the customer, and I've had numerous people ask, hey, can you just add your business cards to the back? Because for the longest time I forgot where I bought my wreath from. This just makes it easier. So yes, that's exactly what I do. So we're going to punch holes in the side of our sign. So Pam made it super nice. She's got these little indents right here. The little, I don't know, it's like a little bead. So I'm going to go ahead and put that right there, directly on the opposite side. These are 1.5 millimeter beadsmith metal hole punch pliers. You can find these at Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, Walmart. Just look for them in the jewelry section because that's what they were made for, to punch holes in metal to make the jewelry. And I'm using 22 gauge floral wire. You can use pipe cleaners. I just find that when I'm dealing with like a natural mesh, it's sometimes harder to push that through because they always get hung up on the little pieces of cotton or jute. So I am going to build my twist right over the top of the hole. So I'm going to do those about 5 times to give myself a nice base. And what this does is, so I don't see wires hanging out the side like a spinner, they're actually built on the back, which means my sign will lay flat. I just want to make sure they're even. Again, building right over my hole. I just twist about 5 times. So it gives it just like a little 1/4 inch elevation. We're going to take our wreath. And now where we had the pipe cleaners in the inside, I'm going to go here, and there should be one over on this side. Here and here. So this is where I'm going to attach. My sign is right over that. So just like so. We're going to put it right in the center. Right over my pipe cleaner. Making sure that I've got, you know, part of my wire on one side of the frame. And as you notice, I'm pulling the Deco mesh away. I'm going to line that up. I don't want to pull too tight. I don't want to pull that all the way to the frame because I want to be able to adjust it before I add it to the design. So we don't want to compress it so much that you have an indented sign. I'm sure you've seen that where you're looking at a wreath and the sign is just buried. So I'm pulling my mesh out. We've got our sign nice and tight. Okay, one of our bows is going here, one of our bows is going here. So with that in mind, I'm going to take my mesh, I'm going to tuck that up and under, pull my ribbon out. And the reason why I do this is if I don't, my bow will sit on top of this mesh, and so all the ribbon tails will sit on top of that mesh as well. So we don't want the one going to the bottom. We want our top bow. So I'm just going to, this is where having your loops and your tails, knowing where they are, we can kind of come in here and lay that right on top. So you can kind of see where I have some of this mesh that might pose an issue with my ribbon tails. So I'm trying to get this all prepared. I don't want it to impact the words on the sign, but just enhance them. And so because we're dealing with a pipe cleaner, we have to bring those ends down. So I kind of want it right there. And I need to make sure that my bow is on. Same thing. We have it on either side of the frame wire, so that when we go to tighten it, it can tighten around one of the rails. So I'm just going to part those just like this. Now, see how right now it wants to elevate my tails way up in the air? If you don't want that to happen, just take some of the mesh that is right underneath the base of that ribbon and just tuck them down. Like we can still have it here, just maybe not quite so much. And then we can go ahead and pull all those tails down to the bottom. And then we're going to fluff. So I have these up on the top as well. There we go. Hang tight, and I will pull that just back a little bit further, just like that. Okay, there's our top bow. Taking that piece of mesh that's just being oh so difficult, tucking it back under there. And trying to find, this is the one I wanted, so that we can have those laying there. Okay, nice and pretty. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same to the bottom right here. So with that being said, we need to take this, tuck that underneath, just like this. I call these making a bow home. So it's like a landing spot for our bow. We're going to have the, I'm just going to tuck this right up in here, and we'll still have all this on top. Okay, tuck that down just a little bit so we can pull the mesh closer. This is our bottom bow. Trying to find my pipe cleaner. So this one's going to tuck right in here, just like that. And now we get to try to weave that all the way through all those mesh layers. And there's a lot. So I'm trying to find the end of my wreath frame because I don't want to go too far. Okay, we've got that one down nice and smooth. Again, fluff your ribbons so they present the way that you want them to. Just like that. So this is what we have thus far. And then now I'm going to add a couple embellishments because remember we left all our pipe cleaners in on the bottom because I didn't know what we were going to do. Linda says the gold foil ribbon really puts the fall colors in your sign. Oh, thanks, Linda. She says you have exceptional taste in ribbon choices. Actually, the ribbon manufacturers just make it easy. And then the sign people just, you know, make it doable. So what we're going to do for our outside pieces is we're going to add a little bit of raffia, but we're also going to add some orange raffia to it, which you can find at Hobby Lobby. So I am just taking about 3 of each piece. That one's kind of weird. So 3 here, and we're just going to add these to the plaid fall ribbon. So I've got 3 orange. Let's see if I can find 3 of the raffia. So So we have natural. There's one. There's two. And we've got our third. So I always keep them gathered at the top so that I have everything in the same length. There we go. So I've started with them all the same. So we're going to do about 6 inches. So just, you're going to go back and forth with that bundle in your hand until you run out of pieces. And then we're going to take this whole bundle. We're going to tuck that right into our pipe cleaner. Give it a couple twists. You're going to remove the excess. We're going to tuck that behind the loop. I'm going to remove the ones that are here on either side of the rust color, since we're not going here. So again, behind the back, open those up. Behind the back, open them up, and then we're going to just fluff these up. So we have a little bit of that rustic look. So again, the fall colors of the raffia, the orange, the brown, and the yellow are all from Hobby Lobby. So I'm trying to separate some of those pieces. There's one there. We've got our natural piece, which, if your raffia is a little too thick, just split it. Just trying to get that last little piece out. Okay. Same thing. You want to start all your ends the same. Okay, we're going to take this one, bring that back up to the top. We have our last piece. Okay, same thing. 6-inch bundles. Just back and forth in your hand. I just like them a little bit more contained. If you want, you can leave them a little bit wispy and longer tails. But we're just putting these in the 6 fall plaid locations and fluffing those. Okay, so we've got the 2 outside pieces there. So this is what I'm saying. If you have really thick pieces, just separate it, just break it, so that you have smaller pieces. There we go. Oop, that one kind of came off a little too short. There we go. Okay, we have another piece there. So I think the addition of the orange, I had it in the raffia in the green color that presented in the raffia. Like that. 6-inch bundles. Oop. This, like, for me, it's just a little ways on either side of my hand. So way up here. You can add those bundles around the sign if you'd like. You can incorporate those into the bow. You can either just make a small little bow and glue that to the inside. Again, don't forget to remove your pipe cleaners on the other pieces, including the ones under your bows. so that that helps your bow lay more flat. What do you guys think so far? This wreath, by the way, is available for purchase on the website, which is pinned to the bottom. So if you find yourself loving this look, you can definitely pick this up on my website, which is catscreationsandmore.com. Okay, there's that one. Okay. Same bundles. It just helps if you keep them all the same length. This one's going to tuck right at the edge of my bow. And yes, I even do, like, if there is one under the bow that needs to be done, like we've done 4, so I know that there is probably one under each bow. I will go under and make sure those are all addressed as well. So first we take the pipe cleaners out, and then you just refluff your bow. We've got one right here, and then we have another one on the other side, and then we shall be finishing up. So there's, that one came too short. They just don't all want to cooperate and be all the same. There we go. Okay. Sometimes I've learned my lesson too, when you're working with your raffia, be careful, because you can cut, like it almost gives you a paper cut as you're trying to split your raffia pieces. One more piece. Let's finish this one up. So we're going to split these just like so, making sure they go all the way down the other end. Okay, same thing, bundles, just like so. This one's going to go right underneath my bow. Why does it matter? You know, should we, you know, include what's under the bow? Yeah. I think it's imperative to stay consistent on your design, even though you don't see those. It's like an integrity thing. It's like, I'm not going to skimp just because you don't see it. Let's include those. So I've got one right underneath here. So I'm going to pull my pipe cleaner first off our beige. And then we're going to do our last little bundle, which is right here. So let's grab our orange. Don't want the brown in here. There's our brown. We have our orange. And our last piece here. I'm trying to use those last little remnants. Okay, so we're going to split this 3 different ways. So there's one. There's 2, and our last one right there. So 6-inch bundles. This right underneath. Last one. Ooh, lordy. Trying to get my little bow so I can fluff it so it lays better, just like so, like that. And then depending upon, like I said, if you're happy with the way that looks, there's a couple options you have. You can come in with some fall pumpkins. You can add a couple of those, maybe add a couple pieces of raffia to the ends. You can add one up here. You can add one, kind of like tucking them in like that. There's also Dollar Tree started carrying these, which they're called burlap pumpkins. They have little clips on the bottom. So I just like to take the tips, the clips part off. And then if you wanted, you can put in nice little, more like a festive burlap pumpkin. I like those better. So I think we're going to put those in. There we go. Just trying to get the clips out. So not too bad for a Dollar Tree find. So we're going to add those 2 to this mix, and then we're done. Never know when you'll need the clips. But you get 3 to a bag. And I think they had them in a couple colors, but obviously I like them the natural. So hot glue to the bottom of our burlap. And I think they're just little styrofoam pumpkins. So right in here, and then right in on the other one. Just like so. And there we have it. A nice full fall rustic pumpkin wreath. Check that out. You guys want to see it on the door? I'm going to go ahead and pivot you up. So give me just 1 second. Hello all. Okay, we want to make sure we can see that door, because this is your full-size front door. This is a 36-inch door. So we are going to place our wreath right on this door. Make sure I got it centered. And then we're going to make sure that you can still read our sign. Just like that. I like it kind of like a little peekaboo look. Just like that. Make sure all of your ribbon tails are nice and fluffed. So you can see all those colors of everything that you used to put that design together. Fluff all of your pieces. There we go. Keep wanting to tuck that. But what do you guys think? That's the end product. Let me dip that sign, that light. There we go. Now you guys can actually see that wreath right there. Let me try to zoom in for you. That is our finished design for a very rustic double bow pumpkin wreath. Again, the sign is from Personalize It by Pam. And if you're interested in purchasing this, it is available on my website at catscreationsandmore.com. And that's really all I have for you guys for today. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I've loved making this one. Can't wait to see what the next one's going to look like. But I hope you guys will come back. Remember, I'm here on Tuesdays at 4 Pacific, which is 6 Central, 7 Eastern, or on Thursdays in the morning, technically early afternoon, 11 p.m. Pacific, which is 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope you guys will come back and see what we're going to be creating next. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.